Outstanding. All right, everyone. Welcome to Masculine Geek number 60, the Shelter in Place episode. We've had some scheduling conflicts. We were not sure if we were going to have Dear Rob on the broadcast for the D&D live stream, and he's here. So there you go. You will get the rescheduling back in the calendar soon, so no worries. Drew is on his way. This is the Shelter in Place episode, Masculine Geek number 60 once again. And it is Wednesday, the best day of the week, and one of the best shows on the internet. So Rob was just telling us about his epicenter.
Lucky bastard.
Lucky bastard in his epicenter.
Yes, we had a 5.7 earthquake in Salt Lake today.
Daniel
And it was 2 miles from my house and about 2 miles, give or take, from my job. So it was in between my work and my job. So pretty crazy shit, I'll tell you what. But the thing that's been more unnerving than that has been the aftershocks. There was even one I felt, probably about 10 minutes before we went live. As I was gearing up to get on, all of a sudden I could just feel the house kind of, and it's like, oh shit. So you guys might get an extra treat. We might be sitting here and all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit. And it's like, what the hell's going on? It's like, it's an aftershock.
That's so cool.
Because we've had almost 80 of them.
80 aftershocks?
Yeah.
That's about as many orgasms. Never mind.
That's how many naps you've taken in the past month. In the past week. Well, now at the quarantine, you really have to go ahead.
Yeah, Rob gets earthquakes. He gets mountains. He gets to go everywhere. We're stuck here.
Don't
go outside. Don't go to the bar.
8 feet apart. 8 feet apart.
Be well. Do you think anyone gets that who's young?
Probably not.
Be well.
Be well. Good night.
It was Demolition Man. You guys remember Demolition Man?
Yeah.
But yeah. Shake hands. Just be well.
Yep.
But that came out about the same time that Rob's Spike chain bracelet was popular, fashionably speaking.
Right.
Oh, fuck. How you doing, Daniel Kibble? You want to explain Daniel Kibblesmith to us? I mean, we know, but
So
I know because that's the dude.
I don't know.
Well, that's the dude from the YouTube we just watched.
Yeah. So Drew sent us that video of Marvel Comics.
It wasn't Drew.
It wasn't Drew.
It was a. Let's see, who was it? Some dude on the internet. Collective Creativity.
Okay, Well, somebody sent you guys this. I'm like, I like Ricky Gervais. It's 10 minutes
funny.
Before you guys.
It's funny.
And so it's this guy named Daniel Kibblesmith, who's a writer. And such a stereotype. He doesn't realize he's the joke. I mean, he is the epitome soy boy. He looks like who is Fraser Crane's brother? Niles. He looks like Niles Crane minus any positive physical traits about him. He's got the thick rim glasses, and he's talking about how they're coming up with the new, what is it, Wolverine, the new X-Men?
New something. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's cancer. It's the new cancer developed in Marvel Labs. They actually have comic book characters named Snowflake and Safe Space.
Yeah, I legitimately laughed out loud at that.
And it's so they take the serious interview and they intersperse it with Ricky Gervais's laughing or whatever.
Yeah, we could play it. We would get demonetized, but we'll play it.
I don't know if you get maybe play a little bit. Like you could play up to 30 seconds without getting.
Oh, okay. Let's.
Yeah, just
so bad.
Let me throw this up on the. Hang on. All right, let me get through this fucking ad first.
The first character's she helps with the poor and she's abandoned child and she's fat. And she's trailblazer.
It's
Orko.
Pretty much.
She's fucking Orko from He-Man. She pulls shit out of her knapsack. Apparently. Like Orko pulled random stuff out of his hat.
Wacko did that in Animaniacs too. There we go.
All right, here you go.
Daniel Kibblesmith, and I am the writer of New Warriors #1.
Okay, let's do this.
The New Warriors are the authority figures in this story. They have to be mentoring new warriors. So the first character that we're introduced to is Trailblazer. She's a group home and foster kid who is volunteering at a senior center. Right. Okay. You pick the name Trailblazer.
Go ahead, pause it. Otherwise, you might get a strike.
She knows that she can do some good with this, Mr.
It doesn't get any better.
I just it gets even more hysterical.
And I can't believe it's real, but it is. And this guy's like a writer for Stephen Colbert. No
wonder movies and television now is just completely turning to shit.
Yeah, and remember when Gentleman's Quarterly GQ was a magazine for men, and now it's just a bunch of non-binary freaks that write for it, and not like the good non-binary. We're talking actual freaks, like people who are mentally fucking insane. So that's the joy. That's the joy of the internet. It gives these mental midgets. Well, so and Playboy now has men on the cover. Like what they originally were. Yeah, well, they do. What? They had the trans or whatever. Oh, God. Didn't you hear about that?
No.
My point is, anything that's paper, anything that was one of the old establishment media outlets, newspapers and all that is gone, because Elle magazine, which presumably was for attractive women or women who aspire to be attractive and normal, they made him 2017's most eligible bachelor. They voted him in the most eligible bachelor. Oh, my God. And it's... So it's a different world. It's a completely different world, and all you can do is laugh at it. But they're in that cocoon, man. They have no idea what fucking idiots they sound like. No idea. No, it's pretty bad.
It almost makes you hope for the collapse, just because they're not going to make it through. They're
not gonna. That product isn't going to sell at all. It's insulting even to you named them Snowflake and what was it?
Safe Space.
Safe space. Yeah. And everyone's a minority.
No, it's like Cosmo used to publish Hemingway and Fitzgerald used to. It was a literary device, and it became a complete piece of shit. So.
Well, that's who I am. I'm Daniel Kibblesmith.
So you're, marginally better looking.
Marginally. Just barely. Hey, look,
this is like going from a 4 to a 4.4.
Right.
There you go.
That the tip right there.
Yeah, well, the tip counts.
The tip counts, but that thing that kind of looks like TJ's Martinell, like looks like his. That has more testosterone in it than all of Daniel Kibblesmith right there. I'm wondering how old this guy is. He was born in 83.
He's in his 30s?
Yeah, late 30s. Like, get your fucking act together, man. Where have you been?
Oh, well. So how you doing, Drew?
He looks like he's older, but at the same time, he doesn't look like he's physically matured past puberty. He skipped puberty and just got old.
Yep. Skip puberty. Just got... that's funny.
So exactly. I'll come up with this. I can see why Vox Day came out with his own comic book and people are coming out with their own comic book. This is shit. There is no competition whatsoever for good comic books now. None. Anybody can write anything with a decent plot, and as long as you're not, placating or painfully obvious virtue signaling, you're going to do better than what Marvel fucking Comics is coming out with.
Yeah, the bar is very, very low. So, Drew, how are you doing?
Well, I was psyched for Dungeons and Dragons.
I know, right? Fuck.
But at the same time, it gives me even longer to prepare, to have a little bit more Well, I don't want to spoil anything. I've got all sorts of my contingency plans have contingency plans. So nice. It's a loose outline, so I'm able to be flexible with it, but I've got all the what ifs sort of covered. And the what ifs that I don't have covered, well, I can just make shit up as we go to cover it. But I've got most of it down. And cool. I was gonna spring some stuff on you guys tonight. It'll wait. It'll be good.
Sweet
I'm not
anticipation.
gonna hurt everybody, but you're gonna be challenged.
Was it more halflings? I hope to God there's not more halflings. They're very annoying.
I like them burnt.
There might be some at some point, but the focus of this was definitely not going to be halflings. It was dealing with some other things that would have. Well, I don't want to spoil anything, but. Right. We'll start. I'm assuming that everybody wanted to start moving out of Horsehead towards Raven Rock, maybe deal with whatever.
Well, yeah, considering we've burned down half the town.
Yeah,
pretty much. I mean, it's no two ways about it.
So we'll find out about the and what happened to the poor, unfortunate bar patrons that you guys drugged and sent out to be murdered. In your clothes.
We got to get our clothes back. It dawned on me.
We just put the cloaks on over.
And are you going to revisit?
I don't take my armor off
before leaving.
Oh, probably.
There's still that gnomish horror that's waiting for Grot to come back.
There you go. I'm gonna. Well, while you're down there, bitch.
Are there any good-looking women in your world you created, Drew, or is it all every time? No, you come in. And you don't immediately puke upon her sight. But if you had enough grog in you, you could possibly get an erection if you imagined a young TJ.
Horsehead is a rough port town, and it's got some rough women. But if you go to some of the nicer establishments in the wealthier part of town, you will find better merchandise. And there are some other wealthier cities that
Thank you, Australian Remaker.
You'll discover them eventually.
What's the good part of Horsehead? That's like saying the good part of Casper. There's just not.
It's a bad. I'm trying to think what it would be comparable to.
Detroit?
If Detroit was a port city with halflings.
Nice.
So
all the ceilings are real low.
It is a very rough place, a seedy place, a somewhat corrupt place. The guards are corrupt. The Jarl or the Lord of the city is not entirely trustworthy. And there's a whole thing going on with the undead, a few weeks journey to the south, but I probably shouldn't have even said anything about that.
Right. This sounds more like Tijuana than it's kind of a port.
There could be some plague stuff going on. There are definitely some wilder encounters planned, depending on what all of your characters decide to do next time. So depending on where they go, what they decide to do, we got all sorts of different things that might happen, that could happen. We got some other characters that you might run into. Of course, you got to watch out. The halfling crime boss, Hugo
boss
is going to want revenge.
That's right.
He escaped with Saruman or whoever the hell.
We got to fuck
grandfather.
him up.
And you might find the grandfather in Hugo Boss's camp. If you can where that is.
Any ladies to stab in the throat on the way out there?
You got to stop that there.
There will be several.
Jesus.
There will be plenty of throats to stab. There's going to be, there will be lots of stabbing opportunities coming
Deserving up. Stabbing opportunities.
You still have these cult members that are... they're trying to get the chalice out to wherever this temple is that you're trying to track them down at. And they've already got a head start, so that's something else to consider. They're on the road. They're already moving.
Nice.
Do you think we should switch to more of a, like you were talking about, Drew, how it was a Dungeons and Dragons, but was more of a let's talk our feelings through type of campaign?
It was never done. No.
Never like
Remember,
that.
you got kicked out because you went in and said, I stabbed the guy with my sword or whatever. And the guy was like, oh, that's violent. Those guys.
No. There are three pillars to tabletop role playing. And I'm preaching to the choir here, but for the benefit of the other people watching, combat, exploration, and role play. Role play used to be, you'd kind of get into character and you'd act out who you were and what you're doing in the role of the combat and exploration. So kind of get into character while you're doing it. Unfortunately, now you've got some of these drama class types that see D&D, instead of being about combat, exploration, and role play, it's their chance to just role play whatever kind of weird.
It's like a psychodrama now.
They have, yes, it's become kind of they're not doing the combat, they're not doing the exploration. They want to role play being, they're the bisexual, disabled tiefling, with a sad backstory that's trying to run a business in a town full of elves that don't understand and are oppressing them and all this other crap. And they're not going out and adventuring, and they're not killing stuff, and they're not going into dungeons. And
well, because then they would be the oppressors if they're killing stuff.
Say again?
They would be the oppressors if they were killing stuff.
Well, there's two ways to look at that.
I love the deep philosophy.
I know, right?
Or
break out your pipe.
Oh, they're liberators.
You are liberating their loot and their treasure from their dungeon.
Nice.
But if
kind of like how communism is liberating our money for all the masses.
Yeah. If that's what people want to do, if they want to play that way, let them find their own groups and do that. That's not the kind of D&D that I like. Old school sword and sorcery, hunting down monsters, epic, dangerous quests, and a little bit of intrigue, but mostly just killing the shit out of monsters and going into dungeons and all that sort of stuff. And so if somebody wants to be a gnome running a bakery in a town, or
organic bakery,
yes, an organic bakery, and maybe they're selling hookahs or whatever gnomes do. Your gnome character leaves the party and goes to the town and is never heard from again. Roll up a new character that isn't a pussy, that wants to go on an adventure and kill stuff.
What if I want to go to the church and
have to rob the gnome's bakery?
What if I want to go to the monastery and not actually be a wizard, but study wizard management studies, where I could manage the wizard, and that way I just get like a scroll that certifies me to command all the other wizards without ever having to work? Can I do that?
Yeah, but the rest of the city is not going to pay for it.
Well, I don't want
and
to play.
And it would have to be during your character's downtime.
I don't want to play then. Can I get 20 everything, Drew? Can I just and like a zillion everything. Platinum pieces?
Can I have a sword plus 20?
Affirmative action D&D. I could just see it now.
you get a handicap like in fucking bowling.
Yeah, one swipe, you kill him again. My God, level 30 dragon.
That would be pretty much it. Nobody has to roll the dice because there would be the possibility of failure. Can't have that.
You can't have that. You can't.
Guys, I got it. A die bag for millennials. Everything's 20. It's a 20-sided die, but everything comes up 20. And just maybe there's a 21, so you can really get excited about yourself.
There you go.
You know what? Somebody would probably. I was actually tempted to have a special 20-sided die made with nothing but ones to give one of my players in another group as a gag gift, because they seem to always roll ones at the worst possible time.
That would be a great gag gift.
Didn't we kind of roll for shit this last game? I mean, we were really biffing them.
Yeah. I think you rolled like 500 twos.
Sometimes the dice are kind, and sometimes they seem to want you to just die.
It's been more like, we're all men of a certain age, maybe not TJ, but this will happen to you. You gotta You'll go to the bathroom. You got to shake it a lot. Otherwise, you bring a little bit of dribble nowadays. And boy, it's the same thing. Rolling deuces.
Is that what happens to you old
people?
That
what happens. More common. Like, hell, darn it. I thought I got it all.
That your ear hair? Shit.
Ear hair? God,
nose hair? Fuck.
The ear hair is the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you look like you got I bet you got to groom your eyebrows and nose hair and everything there, Drew.
The whole thing. I got to
unibrow.
Clippers, I got to clip the eyebrows. I got to trim the nose hairs. I got to trim the ear hairs. It's like this weird second puberty. When you get to your 40s, all of a sudden your hair starts growing again, except instead of on your balls and your armpits, it's all coming out of your face.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, it's weird. But hey, I shouldn't complain. I've got more hair growing instead of leaving. So there's that.
That's always a good thing.
I got guff earlier today. I woke up and I had the perfect.
Did you just say guff?
Yes, he did.
I got guff. What's wrong with the word guff?
Keep going.
What's wrong with guff? What is that? That's a common. You get guff. You get gripe. So I had the big pompadour because I woke up.
Pompadour.
Yeah, big Elvis thing growing out of my head. What would you call? Hang on, pompadour is a real word. Let me look this up.
Pompadour.
Pompadour.
No, I think it's pompadour. Pompadour, like hairdo, it's a pompadour.
No idea.
Center
Pompadour.
pompadour. Oh, it's spelled French.
Jesus
Pompadour.
Boomers speak.
Pompadour. See,
Wait, no,
jackass.
that's a building in France. Never mind. All right, that's not
building in France.
It is. Whatever. Anyway, I look like Donald Trump. I forgot what the story was, but I had all fucked up. I had really nice hair. I had big little poof of hair.
I think
you didn't say the magic word, Atham. Jesus. And yes, Marty wants to know more about your old man dribble.
Well, what's not to say? It'll happen to you too. You'll think you're ready to go, and you're like, "What the hell? God damn it!"
That's how it works.
That's how it goes.
Yep. You got to have once you get to the dribble, it's pretty much downhill from
there. Got to really shake it 3 times, and
and that's pretty much it. And let me go find Atham's message. Here we go.
Did Atham give us guff?
You got to work in your.
Atham's giving us guff. He's going to give you guff in a minute. All right, just invited Atham.
What was Rolo doing? Was he busy with private stuff again, or
private stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, he had stuff to take care of.
I hope he's doing all right.
Oh, gee, Atham, it's such a hard life. It's so horrible over there.
you think it's great? It's not. It's not.
It's Jesus! Here we go.
Oh wait,
here we go.
What was it? There was a movie where the guy's like, "It's great, it's wonderful." Then it says like 2 weeks later, the guy's in his bathrobe, he's all unshaven. No, you know what it was? It was a cartoon. It was Family Guy, and Wile E. Coyote actually catches the Roadrunner and breaks his neck.
Nice.
And then he goes to another coyote. He's like, "Gee, Wiley, you finally caught him." He's like, "Yeah, after all these years, I did." Well, what are you gonna do now? Then fast forwards 2 months later, and Wile E. Coyote puts a bullet to his head because he's got no agency of purpose. You think it's fun not having it? Oh, month-long snow day.
One Roadrunner. He can start stalking bugs. You know what? That gives me an idea. Every once in a while, Marvel has like so-and-so kills the Marvel universe. They did it with Punisher. They did it with Deadpool. I don't know who else, but they should do a Warner Brothers version where Wile E. Coyote kills the Warner Brothers universe, and to have a big graphic novel where he gets the Roadrunner, or maybe that's last, but he kills Porky Pig. He kills Bugs Bunny.
Wait, what did Porky Pig? They never were agitating towards each other.
No, but he's got to kill everybody. That's just
like Pinky in the Brain too. Get them involved somehow.
There's got to be, I don't know, some sort of weird plot reason that they'd come up with. But that I would be interested in watching or reading. Wile E. Coyote kills the Warner Brothers.
Super genius.
And he could do it all with the different Acme gadgets. Or maybe he ditches Acme because they suck as a company, and he actually finds a place that sends him shit that works.
Starts his own company.
Kills all of them.
Brain develops the weapons.
Yes.
And then Brain's like, "We've done it, Wiley. We've done it." He doesn't see Wiley. See, I'm picturing Quentin Tarantino directing this with the gun pointed to the back of Brain's head. Not that we've gone dark already, but there we go.
There you go.
Quentin?
Yeah, Quentin Tarantino.
Maybe. You know.
Well, yeah, I'm saying if you're watching this, there it is. You can retire on that.
We have to put feet in there somehow because Quentin's got a thing for feet.
He does?
Yeah. If you watch all of his movies, huh?
Wait a second. Yeah, Pepe Le Pew, the rapey skunk. He's
right.
He's
the rapey skunk.
So they could work some sort of foot thing in there with him.
I think she'd accuse him of not GoFundMe. What's the hashtag?
Oh, the
Me Too.
How did you confuse GoFundMe?
I don't know. Because it's the same thing.
Pound
it's all
Me
for
Too.
money. Yeah.
Just
and like
different kind of grift.
And then he like kills the cat and buries her somewhere. And then Quentin Tarantino. I see Quentin Tarantino all over this. You know, Wiley dressed up like Jules or Vincent Vega. Just goes
That would be
through.
awesome.
Yeah.
A golden shower obsession.
Oh God, this just
Good Lord. This is degenerating. I like
Wait.
it. I like
Quentin
it already.
Tarantino?
Who does? Who's got the golden shower? Tarantino or Pepe Le Pew?
Yes. Both.
Both.
Yes.
I think they need to keep Pepe Le Pew in until close to the end. He has to die later on because I could see him being used to set up some of the rest of the plot. Maybe Wile E. Coyote uses Pepe Le Pew as bait to lure out some others that he's going to kill.
I don't. I'm trying to think. There'd have to be some bad characters. Wile E. Coyote is the perfect criminal mastermind because he's failed. He's skinny. He's lanky. He's cartoonishly evil. So, but he wouldn't.
Pig is secretly a cannibal. He's kidnapped.
No, we're going way too. No, he's not. A lot of they're not expecting it coming. I'm thinking he gets like Nasty Canasta, some of the more obscure criminals.
Neon Noodle.
What about Marvin the Martian?
Little chicken from Foghorn Leghorn.
There's supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom. What happened to the kaboom?
Marvin Martian. That would be. He would have to assist. That would have to be part of it.
Yeah,
this makes me very angry.
On Marvin Martian and kill him.
There you go. And Duck Dodgers and
oh god,
the fucking Duck Dodgers.
That's what I'm going to do. There's nothing else to do. I'm going to watch Warner Brothers, Black Dynamite, Venture Brothers. And,
absolutely. The old Johnny Quest.
Well, no, this is the remake of Johnny Quest.
Huey, Dewey, and Louie brutally. And Scrooge McDuck puts out a huge bounty on
There we
him.
go.
The entirety of the Warner Brothers universe are out to collect this bounty on Wile E. Coyote. But Wile E. Coyote did this.
All right, so basically it's Warner Brothers John Wick with Wile E. Coyote.
There you go. Perfect.
Right. I like it.
And then he does this knowing that Scrooge is going to do this, and he's Batman. He's already
Thanks, Bacon.
got the weaknesses, the plans. He's got everything all planned out so he can kill everybody. Bugs Bunny is last.
Speaking of people who are going to like lose it and go on a killing spree, how you holding out over in Leavenworth there, TJ?
I'm kind of going crazy, to be honest.
That's why I texted. I was kind of like concerned. I'm like, are you doing anything to get out? I mean, can you go visit your folks or what?
Well, just the only thing I really cared about was just having a place to hang out in town and do some work, and then go hit the gym. But the gym shut down yesterday.
They're all shut down.
But, yeah, so everything shut down. So this is the downside to living in a very more rural community. So I work from home, so basically I can't be don't really have any place to go. So
get in line.
Yeah, so I just went for a run, and now I'm realizing how in bad shape I am. But
that's completely untrue.
No, just sitting all freaking days just making me go crazy. So
when you're used to especially a workout routine. I mean, I totally understand what you're saying.
What about Reese? Did you get to go running or walking with him? Get a little break with the dog?
No, because his owner's in her 80s,
Oh.
and so I'm not. We're not even gonna risk that.
Don't want to murder.
Yeah, I prefer her not die because of me. I mean, I know this is kind of a crazy idea, but I prefer to not kill anybody I know, or at
Just
least
to
be
let you
blamed
know.
for it. Well, I mean, there's a few people I know that if I happen to run into them, I might accidentally sneeze. And if they're not anywhere near me at this moment.
I gotta drop off a gift. My mom. I don't know how your moms are, but they'll get an idea in their head because they don't have a job because they're old. And like, hey, go drop this off at your grandmother's. And my grandma is still alive. God bless her, 92 years old.
Wow.
Good for her.
Yeah. And so, but now I'm kind of like, oh, we got some back feed here.
What the fuck is that noise?
Rob, is that you got another earthquake?
Somebody farting over there?
It's not me.
Another aftershock?
Gotham, look it up.
But I got to go and drop off this thing with my grandma. And I'm kind of like, well,
You do a
spray
thing?
I'll spray. No, it's a picture of the San Francisco Bridge, like a diagram, an engineering diagram
Oh, yeah.
with the
They're cool.
footings and everything.
Uh-huh.
And my great grandpa, her father, was one of the divers who went down to put the pilings in or the cement or whatever. And so my grandma, I think, is old enough to remember it being built. Maybe not. I'd have to look at the math again on that. But her father worked on that. So
That's
we
pretty
got
cool.
Yeah, so we got this big thing, and I'm sure she'll like it, but it's like, Ma, why don't you put it in the mail and mail it? Oh, no, drive here to Wisconsin, pick it up. Now drive yourself and kill your grandmother with the virus you have on your nose.
That's the scary thing about this is that a lot of people, if they're younger and healthier, they can have it and be asymptomatic.
Yeah,
So
right.
you could be carrying it, but if you just happen to have a healthy enough immune system, the virus might say, we're going to leave this one alone. We'll just hop off at the next stop. And
Well, look at the bright side, TJ. You're young enough. You probably got it. You probably already have it. You're immune to it. You're just so strong because you're so young.
Yeah.
there's actually a lot of younger people can carry it.
Sure, Captain.
You were
We
over there,
gotta
TJ.
get like
Okay.
who wants to go sixties? No, fivesies. Who wants to go fifties on getting TJ seeking arrangement girl? Who wants to? We'll all throw in $100, send a girl to his place in Leavenworth.
Yeah.
All right,
I would throw in for that.
I'll totally throw in for that.
I'll pay for the whole thing. Fuck
There's
it.
got to be some around there.
Oh, yeah. At least
You're
one
in
or two.
Alaska? You're not in Alaska, are you?
No,
Pacific Northwest.
But
He's
I
in
mean,
the-
in some ways, it might as well be. We're
he's in the PNW.
Yeah, the PNW, which in a lot of ways, depending on where you're at, is exactly like that seaport town we were doing the D&D game.
Can you search on Plenty of Fish or the dating sites?
That's funny.
Like if I wanted to look like Wenatchee or something,
farmers only.
huh?
I think that there's
Okay, but Aaron Clary's
farmers.
the process of Aaron Clary to becoming a full-on boomer is now complete. Now he's trying to set up someone, right?
No, I just want to see how
That's
ugly the
nothing
women
new,
are in
though,
your
TJ.
neighborhood.
That's
That's really the only
nothing new.
reason. Yeah, the only reason I did that was to see like how bad the selection is out there, and then we could like post their
Aaron,
profiles.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Boom. Okay, boomer.
That
Okay,
would
boomer.
actually be fun. Yeah.
I thought it was a great idea.
Oh, I wonder how bad it is. How many books and essays have you written on how bad it is out there?
Yes, but it's you who are suffering, so it'd be funny for the rest of us to say, "Oh, look at this land whale. She's only 3.5 miles. She's in Cleum, Clara. She comes in at 250 pounds, has 2 other man's children. She works at the gas station at the truck stop. Oh, and then we'd feel good. And deep down inside, you might feel depressed, but you feel like, they love me anyway. And then maybe you date Bertha. And you name your kid Clee and Ellen. You get your kids, it'd be Clee and Ellen, and they help at the truck stop. Phil Jebediah comes in with his big rig and he fills it in there. And,
Jebediah.
and then you buy the coffee shop that never was successful next door, and you
Malachi.
smoke
Only cops show up to get coffee and donuts there.
get angry.
Yeah, you don't want to pick up any women around truck stops.
Dude, you don't pick them up.
Not
They
lizards,
pick you
like,
up.
It's impossible to pick them up.
When I was in high school, when I was in high school, my first like major job was a line cook at a truck stop, like truck stop diner.
Oh shit!
And it was an interesting place. Actually, kind of cool place because it was it's closed now. McDonald's bought it and converted it, but it was the Moasis on 41 in Wisconsin, south.
Wait a minute. Wait. I grew up north of Milwaukee, south of Fond du Lac.
Yeah. Well, no, this is still a little bit north of Fond du Lac on 41.
Fond du Lac.
But the bands that would play at the Brown County Arena, which unfortunately is also now closed, would come down 41 and stop at the Moasis to eat. So we'd get all sorts of different bands in there. We had pictures all over the walls, a lot of different country and stuff like that. But Rick Springfield had eaten there. Do you guys remember the Nelson twins when they were a thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
do.
ran into them there when I was not working, but I was there with the girl I was dating at the time. And I was thinking, oh, crap, the band is going to fuck my girlfriend because she was all freaking out over them. But, yeah, it was interesting because you got these people in there, but some weirdos, too.
This isn't in Appleton, Wisconsin, is it?
It is very close to Appleton, Wisconsin.
It's still there, Drew. I stopped at a hotel out there one time.
Oh, you actually stopped at a hotel?
Well, Appleton, Wisconsin is still there.
Yeah, Appleton's still there. Here it is. Moasis Truck Stop, 4.1 stars. Cordillera Tombs. Open 24 hours. Do they have showers? Yeah, showers are available.
The one by Little Chute or the one closer to Neenah?
This is the Little Chute one.
Nah, they closed. It's a McDonald's now. They converted it.
Oh. Next to it is Moasis Therapeutic Massage.
Wow.
They have 5 stars.
I got a call once when I was working from somebody asking for Elvis. And I said, there's no, and I thought it was a joke. I said, there's no Elvis here. And they're no, seriously, you need to go around and find Elvis. And I'm like, fine. Okay. And so I'm walking around. There's nobody in the restaurant. I go outside, and by the gas station out front with this little like Volkswagen Bug is an Elvis impersonator filling up the car. So yeah, we just weird stuff. But yeah, lot lizards, the prostitutes that hang up by truck stops, picking up truck drivers. Some of them aren't that big because they're probably anorexic and smoking, who knows what now.
Right.
But I don't know how we got on lot lizards. Oh yeah, the
because we had to talk about TJ's date that's coming over.
TJ's future wife, yes.
Future wife.
And TJ, when you open up your coffee shop, can you also sell tackle and bait? Because there's a nice river that flows through there. I want to do some trout fishing, and I come in and say hi.
Fox River?
Huh?
His river up by where he is. River by the truck stop?
Yeah. I've stopped in Cleellum.
Aaron is like doing what you do, Drew, but in a more modern sense. He's world building here.
Yeah.
No, he's describing actual places.
Yeah, because I've gone through it multiple times.
Well, no, the scenario is he's world building with you
right.
in your coffee shop.
TJ comes there and all. And I did see a cop stop because they got a weird exit on Cleellum. Like you got to go around and then back, and I don't know if that's because of the railroad tracks or what. But yeah, I could see it because I've driven through it many times, and I'm just picturing your name. Yeah, Bertha. That'd be in Cleellum. Yep.
Cleellum. Like a weird take on the Waltons.
It would be more like The Hills Have Eyes meets what was that one show that had the banjo music and the butt rating?
Redemption.
Yeah, the Redemption.
No,
it wasn't. It was
Salvation.
It was Deliverance.
Deliverance. That's the one.
Yeah.
That's it. Aaron's world
dueling
building,
banjos,
Hills Have Eyes and Deliverance combined here. God.
Hey, Atham, I got a question. Because you're in a resort town essentially, is that all shut up and no one's coming around? Is anyone from California going up to Lake Tahoe, or is it a ghost town?
It is ghost town, man. Everything
Really?
is closed.
Wow.
We depend on tourists, and they shut down the ski resorts on Sunday. So, when we have amazing snow right now, but no one can get up there. Everything's closed.
Wow.
Yep.
What about you go down to Reno anymore? Or is there no point because you don't have school?
Right. There's no point for me to do anything, I guess.
Like, I can't say it. Oh, I so want to say it, but I don't want you getting a strike. I can't. Oh, it's a good joke. Damn it. Why do we have pussy Nazis in charge of what we can say? It's such a good joke. And it's at Athem's expense, too. It's just so.
Yeah, all I can do right now is just have sex, play video games, and work out in my home gym.
It's hard.
The gyms are closed.
It's horrible. Yeah.
I'm envying your home gym so much right now because I packed my weights. I'm like, hey, there's a gym at the new place. No.
No, not for a while.
I got a couple of utility benches. I got the power rack with pull-up bar. I got the barbell, all the weights you see there, dumbbells. I have everything I need.
I sleep under that when I come visit.
Yeah. Well, last time I took it apart.
I kind of like it. You could have, dress it up with Christmas lights. I sleep under the Christmas bench or the Christmas, workout facility.
What do you tied spread eagle to it there, Aaron?
No.
That works too, right? I guess you could do that.
How it works is I go and I buy some cigars I'm fully intending on smoking. I go to Athem's place. He's got my little mat like a dog. He puts out the mat for me, and I sleep on the mat.
Yeah, it's.
And then I forget my cigars at Athem's. Yeah, there it is. Yeah,
that's Aaron's mat.
That's my mat.
Cool.
He sprays for fleas after I stay there, and then
Yeah,
nice. I've got a door frame pull-up bar and my abdominal bench and some other stuff. So I'm good for body weight exercises.
If you've got a doorway chin-up bar and a suspension trainer, a bench helps too. But you got a doorway chin-up bar, a suspension trainer, you can do pretty much anything that you need.
Yeah,
those two pieces of equipment are. If somebody had an absolute minimal budget, that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll write, and then every half hour I'll stop and I'll do as many pull-ups, chin-ups, or whatever as I can, and then go back to writing, and then another half hour I'll do it again. So,
what's the second thing you mentioned, Drew? There's a chin-up bar, and what was the other thing? A
suspension trainer, handles on a strap with an adjustable length.
Yeah.
You can do tons of stuff with those.
Is it just like resistance, use your own body weight kind of thing?
Yeah, people do a lot of dumb shit with them, but there are a few exercises that they're really good for. Rowing, you can use them for rowing. If a person is too fat or too weak to do a sufficient number of chin-ups, they can adjust the handles so that they're about shoulder height when they're standing and do them with leg assistance. There's a bunch of different things you can do with them. Oh. You can use them for balance assistance during one-legged squats if you're going to do those, or sissy squats. But they're good for.
Oh, you mean Aaron squats?
Chin-ups.
Well, you're mentioning all these straps and it's stretchy. I'm like, well, shit, this sounds like Vince's cup of tea.
It's right up my alley. Yeah. I got a variety of things I can use.
Suspension, tie up, resistance.
And for the doorway chin-up bars, if you get the metal brackets for the closet hanger rods and 3-inch screws, you just put the brackets in a doorway. You got to have the 3-inch screws because you got to go all the way into the studs, and then cut a piece of pipe to fit, and you just put them in those brackets when you want to use it. Remove it when you don't. It's cheaper than getting most like nicer doorway pull-up. You're putting shit in your doorways, but if somebody's really on a budget, that's one way to do it.
I had a weight set a long time ago, and best shape I ever got because it was my own weight set, and I was, but it was the ricketiest, most dangerous bench press set I ever. And so I ended up taking it was just this welded together bench press. That's all it was. And so I ended up taking the plates, not the plates, where you'd lie down. I took them off and I look, and there's like this almost rusted out, jagged piece of metal that was about to go. I'm like, that thing would have ripped off, or gone right up into my shoulder. And so now I think I might spend a little bit more money the next time and not be so cheap then.
And right now, oh shit, this really sucks. It absolutely sucks. But within the next few months, there's going to be a lot of gyms going out of business. And whenever you get a bunch of small gyms going out of business, CrossFit places, things like this, there's going to be a bunch of used equipment flooding the market. So people that are looking to, Get yourself a small storage space. Keep an eye on the sales. Buy the equipment as you can. And then even if you end up not having room for it or not needing it, once things pick up again, you can make a profit on that. Again, it sucks that this is happening. A lot of
no, it is. This is great. No, this is the best thing to happen in a long time. I bought stocks cheap. People are miserable. They're waking the fuck up. People are finally thinking about their existence and what it means to be human. And now people are like, oh shit, I didn't save any money. Oh, it's like yes.
It is a nice checkpoint wake up call. No, Drew, we didn't get a chance to talk about this last time when we were on for the interview, because we talked about diet for the most part. Now, exercise for the geek, the masculine geek that wants to get in shape. What are some good exercises? Just like a couple exercises to start out.
Assuming that you're working out at home, which is kind of a situation for everybody right now. If you have dumbbells, barbells, if you have the equipment, if you have the equipment and if you don't have any joint or spine issues that would prevent you from doing it, a good workout is built around a handful of compound exercises. You need pushing and pulling movements in horizontal and vertical planes. If you are doing a bench press and a overhead press, if you're doing a row and either a chin up with an underhand grip or a pull up with more of a parallel grip, chin ups and pull ups. Your upper body is pretty much covered, all the big muscles. For the lower body, a squatting movement and a regular barbell back squat or dumbbell squat. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. I see people doing all these just stupid variations. There's no reason for most of them. A regular back squat or dumbbell squat properly performed is enough. And a hinging movement, like a deadlift or a stiff-legged deadlift.
Oh, okay.
Those 80-20 rule, that handful of exercises, just those few are going to provide the vast majority of overall physical benefits that a person can get. If you do not have any weights, you can do body weight squats instead of regular squats. And if you do them right, they're a whole lot harder than most people realize. You can do chin-ups. If you can't do a chin-up, again, get a suspension trainer, hang it from a chin-up bar, and do it with leg assistance, or do it isometrically. Regardless of how weak or how fat or how strong or whatever, the isometric stuff is also a lot more effective than most people realize. Push-ups, rowing, and again, if you have the suspension trainer, the row is the opposite of a push-up. If you were laying face down on the ground, you'd do the push-up. You turn over on your back, you set the handles so that they're just out of arm's reach. Hold on to those, and then you're just keeping your body straight, lifting yourself off the ground. So the row covers your horizontal pulling movement. For a pushing movement, I see a lot of people recommending or doing handstand push-ups. The vast majority of people are not going to be able to do a handstand push-up. And if they can, they typically don't do it very well. But there is a push-up variant that is an overhead movement. It's called a pike push-up. The reason it's called a pike push-up is because it's performed in the pike position. In gymnastics, if your body is straight but your hips are flexed about 90 degrees, your legs are straight forward, pike position. Like if you were doing an L sit but hanging, legs are in the pike position. So you put your hands on the ground and you bend your hips. You bring your feet up until you're at about this angle.
Like
so as you're lowering yourself, you're coming up or you're coming down towards your head, and then you're pressing yourself up and back.
What does that work?
Shoulders. The movement is very similar. You're not going to be able to go all the way down because your head is going to get to the ground at some point unless you're using some push-up handles. If you're using push-up handles, you want to make sure they're not going to slip when you're doing it. And then for the it's not really a replacement for a deadlift, but a body weight exercise for the low back, the glutes, and the hamstrings, hip raise, if done correctly. And not a hip thrust. I see the hip thrust is really popular right now. I see all sorts of people doing these, and they do them just stupid. It's like they're trying to hump the barbell. It's dumb. You should never thrust or throw or bounce or move a weight rapidly. A raise, not a thrust. The hips should be raised slowly and under strict control. If it's done correctly, all these exercises are pretty challenging. So
Drew, I think you got an opportunity. I'm not being facetious at all, but because everyone's going to be cooped up, people can't go to the gym no more. Why don't you put together a demonstration video of just these handfuls of things?
I did in 2013.
Well, go grab that.
I've been selling it. I've been telling people you can't go to the gym, do this. In 2013, I wrote Project Kratos, bodyweight high intensity training.
Oh, okay.
And then in 2015, I wrote Timed Static Contraction Training, a guide to minimalist high intensity isometric. And both of those were meant for people that were training at home or traveling. And then in 2019, I wrote a 40-page update to both of these, incorporating a bunch of stuff, because usually winter and then summer, I'll run an online group taking them through the program, refined it a lot. And so that's all available in the store. And I've been telling people on the newsletter and putting stuff on Twitter and Facebook about this. If you can't go to the gym, well, if you have the budget and you have the space for it, it's simpler to learn and to perform the barbell and the dumbbell exercises. I would recommend doing that first if you have the budget and the space for it. If you don't, if you do the body weight stuff and if you do the isometric stuff correctly, it is extremely effective. Anybody who doesn't think body weight exercise is effective just doesn't know how to do it correctly. And also recently I did a video, and I posted on YouTube a couple days ago for the old people. And this is a video with a workout that was specifically designed for very weak and deconditioned elderly people to be, or like the guy that wrote for Marvel Comics that came up with that, it was Snowflake and Safe Space and all that. It is designed to be performed at home with nothing but a table, a chair, a belt, and either a pair of yoga blocks or a bath towel that can be folded up to use for padding. And almost the entire workout is performed from the chair. Chair is set up in front of the table, and you're able to do, I'll just run through the exercises. And you can watch heel raise, dorsiflexion, hip adduction, hip abduction, squat, pullover, chest fly, lateral raise, arm curl, triceps extension, lumbar extension, torso rotation, pinch gripping or crush gripping, depending on if you're using the blocks or the towel, and then neck flexion and neck extension. Most of these are done using a isometric protocol or a static protocol called timed static contraction, and a few of them are done dynamically, but covers all the major muscle groups in the body. Almost everything is done seated. So I put that out for free for old people. If they're stuck at home and they can't go and do their silly water aerobics or whatever other crap they usually do, they can actually do something productive and something that's relatively safe. Now, it was designed for older people. The reason for choosing those particular exercises was so it could be done seated, and so that it didn't require a whole lot of equipment, because I didn't want people to have to get down and up off the floor. Most of us would take that for granted, the ability to get on the floor and do push-ups and stand back up and do a lot of the other exercises. But if you got, and again, this is for relatively frail elderly people, but if I were to take anybody, regardless of how strong and well conditioned you were, and have you go through the workout, even though it was designed for weak and deconditioned elderly people, the nice thing about the time static contraction protocol is that it scales with the individual strength and conditioning. So it can be effective for somebody that's very weak, or it can be effective for some, well, I'll explain it. To perform a time static contraction, you take an object that is immovable or unyielding, like a chain, or imagine you're in a power rack and you set the pins so that they cannot move beyond some point. Suppose that it's overhead and you're pushing against it. It's a 90-second effort with no rest, with a 30-second moderate effort, followed immediately by 30 seconds, almost as hard as you can contract. And then the last 30 seconds, you should contract as hard. I tell people to contract as hard as you dare, as hard as you feel you can safely contract. And doesn't matter how strong you are, as long as what you're contracting against, what you're pulling or pushing against isn't going to move, it's going to be effective. If you're really weak, you can do this because you don't have to lift a weight. If you got, again, the pullover, you guys know what the machine pullover is, right?
It's like this, except the machine puts it on.
No, well, you're sitting in a seat, and then there's a movement arm that has a set of pads that go behind the elbows, and you're typically starting here.
Oh, yeah.
Extend the arms, pressing down and back. The yoga blocks go on the table in front of you, so from a seated position, you're putting your elbows on them, and you're contracting your lats and your rear delts and your abs, trying to push your elbows down and back through that, but it doesn't go anywhere. Now, as long as you've got a reasonably sturdy table, even somebody that is relatively strong, unless they can break the table, which they just need a better table, it's going to be just as hard for them because it depends on how hard they can contract. Now, with a barbell exercise, if you're too weak, you can't even lift the barbell, that's problematic. But with the time static contraction, you're not lifting anything. For example, lateral raise. If you get some of these really old people, just doing this with 5 pounds for a good amount of time is too much for them. But you put a strap around their arms, or you just have them hold a towel at just about double shoulder width and pull out against this. They can hold on to a towel and they can do this. Or with a strap around the arms, a belt, they can do this. And it'll be as hard as they need it to be and no harder. Again, or if you take somebody, as long as you're not going to break the strap, if you do it that way, you get 90 seconds, 30 seconds moderate effort, 30 almost as hard as you can, and 30 as hard as you dare, it's going to be effective. So
can you go over all that again so people know what to do at home?
Each one of the exercises or the time?
All of it. Can you repeat that? Yeah, can you repeat that? All right, guys, I gotta get going, so I'll catch you later. All right.
All right, take it easy, Daniel.
Right, see you guys.
You fucker.
So okay, so he's not serious. Anyways, if people want, I'll post the link to the workout later. And what I'm going to do, since a couple people asked me about this, is actually I started today. I was about halfway through recording it, and my phone rang. I forgot to put it on silent, so I'm going to do it again tomorrow. I'm actually going to do a guided walkthrough of the workout.
Oh, cool.
So, and this is for, again, this workout, it is effective for anybody, but it's specifically designed for older people. If you are able to, instead of having a bunch of simple exercises, what most people call single joint, which the proper terms are compound and simple, not multi-joint and single joint. Those are not accurate. But instead of having somebody do a pullover and a curl, it's more efficient to just do a chin-up. Instead of somebody having to do chest fly and tricep extension, it's more efficient to just have them do, a push-up, or if they've got dumbbells or barbells, a bench press. So I would combine a bunch of the simple movements into compound movements for people that are able to do those because it's more time efficient. And from a cardiovascular and metabolic conditioning standpoint, the demand on the cardiovascular system is proportional to the amount of muscle mass working and how hard it's working. If you have a compound movement where you have more muscle groups working simultaneously, there's going to be more of an effect. So if you can do the compound movements, they're more time efficient. They're better for the cardiovascular and metabolic conditioning. So I would change that. I'm going to be doing another set of videos specifically on those workouts, but that's just going to be set up as a bonus for people that are buying the Body Weight ebook bundle.
All right, cool. Shit, excuse me. Burping up over here. Fuck. All right, so let's segue into one of our favorite discussions and what we talked about when we first went live. Tabletop role-playing games. I believe, I believe that was one of your suggestions as well. So is there anything you want to lead off first? I mean, I have a whole host of things I can talk about. But
yeah, well, just off the top of my head, I know we got a lot of people watching who are probably going to be going nuts over the next couple of weeks.
Hmm.
I love tabletop gaming. We've got another bookshelf back there with dozens of tabletop board games, but we can't have people coming over and playing and getting together to do that now. And so it's not really an option. And one of the things I've been encouraging other people in gaming groups stuff to do is to go, and Wizards of the Coast has a lot of the free stuff online, but it's worth it to get the books. Get the books, get a bunch of people together, and either use Skype or get a StreamYard account, have everybody chip in and get together online to do Dungeons and Dragons, because this is something that you could literally do for hours a day and completely lose yourself in. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be it's nothing beats having a group of people.
It's better around the table. Yeah, absolutely.
Nothing beats that. But all you have to do is have everybody, and you have to see each other. It can be done with chat. You can do it on the Discord with just a chat without the video, but it's better when everybody can see each other.
Yeah.
And really, the sweet spot seems to be about 3 to 5 players and a DM. If you've got fewer than 3, if you've only got 2 people, you miss out on a lot of the interaction. If you've got more than 5 people,
it bogs down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
it really does.
Because everybody's turn takes a certain amount of time. The more people that are playing, the more turns, the longer it takes to get back to everybody.
What's the most you've had at your D&D table?
8.
Okay. I've had 12.
Oh man, I couldn't even imagine trying to run that. And
it was insane.
I told the guys after. Unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately. We have a core group that have been together since the actually beginning of 2018. And they're all right about, I think and they started at level 1, but I think most of them are right about level 8 or 9. Now, there's a couple month hiatus because of some issues with some of them moving, and they went to Tennessee, and now they're coming back, so we're going to be picking up again. But after the situation before where we had the 8 people, a couple of them dropped off. I said, you know what? From now on, we got a hard limit of 6, because once it gets to more than that, it's just we'll split up the group in that case, because it's too difficult.
It's too much to keep track of, like you said, and it bogs shit down, and the interaction will get cluttered as well.
Yeah. And here's the thing too, for the people that are watching and might be considering doing this. It sounds like a lot, and you'd think, okay, there's all these rules and there's all this stuff that you need to know, and there is a little bit of a learning curve to it, but you just dive in and you kind of learn as you go, because it really doesn't matter if you make a lot of mistakes with the rules. The important thing, the rules are just there to facilitate the storytelling and the interaction between the players. If you're not sure of a rule, real simple thing that you can do. Almost everything is decided by the roll of a 20-sided die. And if you don't know what the rule is, you just ask yourself, should this be something that's difficult or easy or impossible? If something would be, and then you take the percentages. Let's say that somebody wants to do something. I want to, kick in the door. Well, is it a wooden door? Is it a heavy door that's barred? Is it a metal door that's got locks? How difficult is it? If it's relatively easy, they should only have to roll 5 or more. If it is only moderately difficult, something that the average person wouldn't have, they'd have to work a little bit, but it wouldn't be too hard, 10 or more. If it's something that's sort of hard that the average person would find difficult and would be not as likely to succeed at, 15 or more. If it's something that is almost, not almost impossible, but extremely difficult, 20 or more. If it's almost impossible, then you're getting up to like the 25 and 30, but that's for more, in some cases, you can just make a ruling and say, no, you can't do that. But if you're not sure whether somebody should be able to do something or not, or whether it's in the rules, just, how difficult should it be? What's the percentage? Roll a 20-sided die. Okay, you did well enough. That should make sense. So it's something that you can figure a lot of the stuff out as you're going. but it's just a hell of a lot of fun. If you get a good group of people together and everybody is, somewhat, you need to be somewhat imaginative, and you also need to be not have any reservations about acting, because a big part of the fun for me, again, people, is when everybody's really into character. And because here's one way to look at it: as the dungeon master, the person that's running the game, you're not telling a story. What you're doing is providing a plot. The plot, or the overarching background, what is going on, what is happening. The story,
players do that, yeah.
The players and how they interact with your plot. And there's a guy, and actually his name is Guy Scanlon, who has a channel. I think it's How to Be a Great GM, and also How to Be a Great Role Player and stuff. And he has this thing that it's all like his mantra for DMs. If you want to come up with a good story, somebody wants something badly by some time and is having difficulty getting it for a particular reason. Write that down and fill in the dots. And in fact, we're going to do it right off the top of our head. Somebody wants something badly by some time and having difficulty getting it for reasons. Let's say we have a troll king, wants the head of a local lord, and he wants him dead before the Lord's army returns, and makes it difficult for him to be able to get to his stronghold and get him. But he's having difficulty because of the Lord's private guards and the mercenaries that this Lord has hired to protect him. So what do we have? We've got this troll lord wants to kill this guy. He's got a certain amount of time to do it because the soldiers are coming back. The thing that's in his way is the elite guard for this particular lord and the players, the adventurers. So what do the players have to do? Well, first they have to discover what's going on, which is revealed through the playing of the game. And then this troll king or whatever is going to have his own henchmen who are going to be like the lesser challenges, and he's going to have, what would he do? What would his plan be to accomplish this? Come up with those, and those are the things that are going to be happening to the players that the players have to deal with. And depending on the choices the players make, maybe they'll decide that they're going to work for this lord, and they're going to accept a mission to go and find and kill this troll king. Or maybe they finally encounter one of the troll king's henchmen who convinces them that the troll king is actually right and that his vengeance is justified because maybe the Lord did some horrible thing to the troll king's daughter or whatever. And so the players say, well, if you pay us so much, or if you give us this treasure or whatever, we'll double cross and we'll go back and kill him. So again, just from that thing, somebody wants something badly by some time and is having difficulty getting it for particular reasons. You fill that in, and you can just, the weirder, the crazier, the better. And from there, you just kind of spread out your outline. As ideas come to you, fill it in. So there's definitely an art to it, but there's also some tricks like that for coming up with stuff really easily off the fly. And then there's another guy, Venger Satanic, or Satanus, I think is a pseudonym, who writes some great stuff for dungeon masters on dungeon mastering and coming up with stories. And I can't remember exactly how he puts it, but I think the phrase that he uses is something like more tentacles, which just means whatever the situation is, ask yourself, how can I make this even stranger and more, intense? And what could I add to this? What crazy thing?
Plot points.
Yeah, and God, obese were-rat war wenches, things like that. But there's some.
That was pretty funny.
There's a lot of people that are doing great stuff on YouTube for dungeon masters, for role players. But I would I would very strongly encourage everybody to give it a try. Even if you have never done it before, watch our videos. Look up some other live plays. Most other people play it like pussies. We're the best on this. But watch a few.
That is true.
Watch a few, and you're going to see some examples. And maybe some other people's style of play is more to your liking. But you're going to be stuck inside as long as you've got internet and imagination and dice. Now, here's the thing. Nothing beats chucking physical dice. There's something about, throwing those the dice. But if you don't have a pair, and you can get them on it, you can go, if you don't want to go to a hobby store right now, and you probably shouldn't if you don't have to, order them on Amazon. You can get real nice set of polyhedral dice for a couple bucks.
Chessex is really good too.
Yeah.
Chessex.
And there's dice apps online.
Yeah.
So it's, again, get the books. And Wizards of the Coast has the stuff on their website. The basic rules are free.
Yeah.
The books give you a lot more stuff, but there's a lot of free stuff online. But I would recommend that everybody at least try it. It's a lot of fun. And again, you could literally play for hours.
Oh yeah, I've had all-nighters when I was in my youth. Now TJ, you're a relatively new player. What are your impressions?
It's just different because I've never really I dabbled a little bit in it when I was a kid, but it wasn't Dungeons and Dragons. It was more of like Star Wars ripoff or knockoff or something like that.
There's different genres. If you're not into fantasy, sword and sorcery stuff, you can do sci-fi, you can do western. You can
think that's what stuff. Yeah. One of the things that I find appealing about tabletop games is that you can take the rules and incorporate it into another type of world. So, for example, if somebody wanted to, and there probably is somebody out there who's done this, is you could apply it to a World War II setting, which I think would be, I kind of love that time period. So that would be cool for me. It's some place. It's like you're living out combat, the TV show. It'd be a squad, and you're trying to do an objective or your D-Day, whatever it is. It's a lot of it's the imagination. So it really taps into people who have strong imaginations and are able to get into stuff.
This is the original box set that I bought new in, it was 83 or 84. Why does it not say? Anyway, but this is the original box set. Essentially D&D in space.
Oh, gotcha.
I was laughing at a comment here.
Oh yeah. Here's the character record sheets. I gifted idea to you.
If you guys don't mind, if I show these guys a book I've been reading, honestly, all right. I mentioned Guy Scanlon before. I've been reading this.
Creature Epic?
The Complete Guide to Creating Epic Campaigns.
Oh, epic campaigns.
And honestly, I've been doing this on and off, probably for over 30 years now. And just kind of figuring it out and making it up as I go. And I read a lot. I read a lot about how to be a better DM. I've read, I'm trying to remember the name of it. Crap. Now I can't even remember. Anyways, I've read a whole bunch of stuff on being a dungeon master, and this so far has probably been the most useful just for coming up with campaign ideas and structuring the campaign and everything else. So if you want to really be good at it, it's helpful. So again, I can't recommend Dungeons and Dragons enough, or not even Dungeons and Dragons specifically, but just tabletop role playing in general as a way to just have fun with your friends, be creative, and especially right now, again, with all this crap going on, perfect. It's perfect. Everything is free. You don't need to spend anything. You've already got internet. You could buy the books, and it's helpful. You could buy dice, but there's apps for dice rolling literally online. So you don't have to spend anything. Just dive right in. If you find out you like it, there's tons more resources. So yeah, it's
absolutely
phenomenal.
This is funny. I used to collect GI Joes when I was a kid, and apparently remember those schematics that the toys came with.
Oh yeah.
When you say GI Joes, which ones are you talking about?
The ones from the early '80s.
Oh, you mean like the GI Joe action figures?
Yeah, the action figures, and then the toys. This is the Skyhawk.
That's
and
cool.
all this.
I remember
Yeah, I sold the toys a while ago for a pretty penny too, but it's pretty cool.
Sold out, literally.
I did. Well, those anyway. Most of my D&D stuff I still have.
I forgot. I think it's Mastering the Game. Crap, I forgot. You know what? I've got it on my iPad.
And Drew, there was a question for you
Oh, shit. I got
in the chat.
water all over the back of my iPad from condensation from my water bottle. Let's see. Wondering, have you ever dabbled in future role play with cyberpunk in the late 80s? No, I haven't, but I would like to. In fact, I talked with my son about doing Shadowrun. So that's something I might do eventually.
Cool.
Where the hell? See if I can find the
Shadowrun is a good game. I enjoyed running this.
I know I've got the D&D books in here somewhere. I've got my CDs. The CDC actually wrote a book about dealing with zombie apocalypse, as it was not meant as a actual zombie apocalypse. There it is. Yeah, Master of the Game by Gary Gygax. So I've read.
Yeah.
Scanlan's book is better than Gary Gygax's book for Dungeon Masters.
Hush you. How dare you speak blasphemy?
Well, Master of the Game. Oh, hold on a second. So you guys, what the hell? Oh, it opened it up for me. Damn it! And this
go back to the cover page.
Yeah, it doesn't want to change the page every time I tap it. It just fucking iPad. God damn it, Apple. I just have to go back to the hell. Yeah, there we go. So, Master of the Game.
Cool.
Here we go. Somebody was kind enough to go. These things, I think I saw one on Amazon for Jesus, like $180 something or more before. It's been a while. I would love to have an original, but somebody was kind enough to take some of these older ones and put them out in PDF. So great game, or great book. But yeah, the Guy Scanlan's complete guide to creating epic campaigns. Good book. Solid.
Cool. So Atham, how about yourself over there? Any tabletop role-playing excursions in your youth? You just said were when I started playing D&D, you weren't even born.
Right. No, all I have played is like stuff like Monopoly and the like. Yeah.
Okay. So are you more of a computer game guy?
Right. I am familiarized with the concept though, because I used to play the shit out of Neverwinter Nights back in the day.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you did. Okay, exactly. Yeah, I think
I was 3.5. I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right out of D&D.
Right, right.
Neverwinter Nights.
When you say roll for Constitution check, blah blah, I know what it means. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All of it. I used to play Paladins. I like those guys a lot.
Oh, Paladins are cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Or clerics.
Cleric. I don't know if I've ever played a cleric. I didn't really play all that much. I was mainly the dungeon master. I've only played a handful of times, and when I did, I would play a magic user. This is my first time with Drew DMing that I'm playing a fighter.
There was an exploit where you could be level 1 paladin and a sorcerer. So you had the charisma saves, stuck together. It was bullshit.
Oh yeah, that is.
I guess I guess you can't do that anymore. But yeah. Good times.
Indeed.
If you're just starting out in this, I don't recommend multi-classing.
Right.
It's too hard. Well, on paper, or
It's just penalties, right?
you got to learn the classes before you try to start mixing.
Yeah. Plus, I don't know. I think Paladin works just good on its own. If they're still around, I don't even know.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
If anything, there's probably more. Oh man, I haven't even kept track, but there's all sorts of stuff now, like artificers and different things. But it's still kind of built around the core stuff. You get your fighters, your paladins, your rogues, your bards, your cleric, wizard, sorcerer, warlock. What am I forgetting? Druid, monk.
Monks, right?
Monks are cool.
I think I mentioned bard.
Mm-hmm. Thieves.
That's most of it. Thieves. Well, rogues.
Thieves.
Ranger.
Yeah, how could we forget, TJ?
That's right.
Those guys kind of suck, no?
It depends, really. I mean, well, all the characters have strengths and weaknesses in different situations. And that's one of the cool things about having a relatively diverse party in terms of the different classes.
Diversity.
Well, this is an instance. Role-playing class diversity is actually a strength, where superficial diversity is completely meaningless. But if you have a situation where a cleric would be needed and you don't have one, not good. But on the other hand, if you've got some city-dwelling adventurers, but if you've got like a rogue and who's mainly used to the city, and you've got a paladin who hasn't been out of his own countryside, and a wizard who's spent most of his time in a tower, and suddenly they're thrust into a wilderness survival situation. If they don't have a ranger or maybe a druid, they're going to starve and die if they're not fortunate.
Right. That's why I like the paladin, because you could heal and you could also go on the offensive, and buff your friends. I don't know how it works now, but it was pretty versatile.
Yeah, the paladins. I know some people can get kind of annoyed with paladin players if they role play them very strictly, especially if it's like lawful good, where they try to get in the way of sometimes of what the other players are doing, which can be interesting too. And that's part of the role playing,
right? Is
having a character that has a particular, and there are flaws with the whole like chaotic, versus neutral versus lawful, good, neutral, evil. It's not perfect, but it helps when you're kind of creating your character. If you want to really role play a particular type of character, to have some idea of their morality. And sometimes it can be interesting to play a character with a particular morality, even if it's not something that you believe in. It's just for the sake of the game.
Unlike Aaron, who plays himself.
Sled, yeah.
But that's another way to look at it too.
You say unlawful good? Come on.
You could literally just sit down and say, well, how would I actually live in this kind of environment, and play yourself in the environment like that, which is that's a perfectly legitimate way to do it too. One of the things that I like about paladins, though, and sometimes clerics, is taking an oath or something that makes the role playing and the game itself more challenging if you actually follow it. For example, I played a character briefly when I was playing with these other people at the local gaming store. That was a Death Domain cleric who was sworn to root out the undead and necromancers wherever he encountered them, and whether he died or not was irrelevant. That was how I decided I'm going to play the character. I'm going to be 100% committed to this character's oath to do this, and it actually caused. Well, I'll give you some of the background. They were playing a campaign one of these stock campaigns, the Mines of Fendelver or something. And I was seriously getting so frustrated and so bored with how badly, they're nice people. The GM really was not very good at this. The other players, clueless, a lot of weird, it was frustrating for me. And I was seriously debating getting up and just walking because the game was so bad and I didn't want to sit through a few more hours of it. But then we came to this cabin and they were supposed to be, the group were supposed to be trying to summon this banshee, which for the level of the group was probably going to kill everybody. They were supposed to summon this banshee to get information from it to be able to continue on the story. And playing my character true to his oath, I said, all right, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to kill it. And so it ended up being starting this big conflict between and splitting the party. Half the party was trying to stop me from killing this banshee. I ended up almost killing one of the other party members, and somebody else stepped in. And finally, people were trying to get out. They were trying to stop me from killing the banshee. So I was fighting with them while also trying to deal with this. At some point, the cabin started on fire. And eventually, I stayed. Everybody else was going. I'm thinking, I was planning on leaving anyway. So if my character dies here, fine. I'll get up and walk. No big deal. But I almost died. A couple other people almost died. Some other people decided, okay, we'll go back in there and we'll try. And I ended up killing the thing. But it was just skin of my teeth. A bunch of other people almost died. I actually helped out a few of them, being the cleric and having the ability to do that. So it actually ended up being, just because I decided I was not going to do what was best for surviving the encounter or the sake of the adventure, I was going to play the character true to the character that I wrote, no matter what happened. And it ended up making the whole thing a hell of a lot more interesting. And then later, the incident with the necromancer that I mentioned previously happened. Yeah, it made for a whole lot more interesting session than if I had just said, well, okay, well, I'm just going to go along with this. So sometimes it can write your character, and a character that you think would be really interesting to play. You don't need to sit down and write 5 or 6 pages of backstory unless that's the kind of thing that you enjoy doing. I get a couple players who sent me almost short novellas on the backstory of their characters, and I was impressed. It was really well written. I'm like, holy crap, now I don't want to kill these players because they put all the time.
Totally invested, yeah.
You can just roll dice, put some numbers on paper, come up with a name and a class, and just kind of go. But if you want to, you can come up with some real interesting characters and experiment with playing as those characters in this, if that's the kind of thing that you're into. And as a dungeon master too, you can come up with various characters that are non-player characters to introduce these characters to, and have a lot of fun with that as well. Absolutely. And if you enjoy, and it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be sci or fantasy, sword and sorcery. It can be science fiction. It can be contemporary. It can be historic. It can be historical sci-fi, cyberpunk or steampunk. What is it? Whatever genre you enjoy. If you are creative, if you like this sort of thing, this is one of the best things that I could possibly recommend. And again, especially with all the shit going on right now, I could not imagine a better. If I did not have to finish writing projects, and if I did not have commitments for video and other stuff and consultations, well, I would probably spend a lot of time reading. But other than that, I would probably spend most of the rest of the time trying to get together. Like every once in a while, I do a game for my brother and my son and my nieces and nephews, which is a little more tame. than what we're doing here. But I would be trying to get games together. It's a hell of a lot of fun. Although now that TJ mentioned the World War II thing, I'm thinking I want to try that because that would probably be a blast.
I mean, that's exactly that's the kind of stuff that I would if I had a bunch of guys over or whatever, we were wanting to play games like that. Like that would be something. I think the thing that with D&D, the way it's centered and all that kind of stuff is just, I think, I don't know. Someone was knowing the psychology of someone trying to kind of play their own self on that. And I think it's also kind of reflects the preferences of what kind of a world do they want to live in, like the high fantasy and all that, or is it going to be more of a like Game of Thrones type environment where it's just pretty brutal.
Stab old women in the neck.
What's up, guys?
Hey,
So,
Come on.
All right, go ahead. Keep going.
Oh,
You're
I
in
was
the
just
middle of
noting,
something.
I was just saying, like, I think that the template of role playing games, everybody can enjoy it, but it's the setting is what draws people in. Because I think some people have this desire or this preference for a certain time period or world. Like I knew one guy who said, that he would have loved, or he felt like he belonged back in the medieval times and things like that. Even though it would have stank back then, there was a lot of other problems. But he just said that all the aesthetics, the way that the world was, from what we know, appealed to him more. Whereas for me, it would have been more of around the 40s and 30s because for whatever reason. So I think that that's why certain people are just drawn to different environments that you take the structure of a role-playing game like D&D.
And you'd be surprised. Some people really focus on the wargaming aspect. Like you get some people that can't get into Warhammer, right? And they get into D&D, and they really like the meaty aspect of the game. Like I got a guy right now. I always do theater of the mind gaming, so for the most part, we're just all kind of, storytelling. And then we have some combat. But then he came in and he wanted the board. He wanted the miniatures. He actually brought the miniatures himself. So that was pretty neat. So, and, he was going on for like 20 minutes before we started the game about like how he was going to build his character to optimize it. He was definitely one of those like
power gamer.
Yep, you got it.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, but
No,
it's a legitimate lifestyle. Ultimately, it comes down to what do people want to do? And actually, it reminds me real quick too. If you're going to run a game, something that I recommend everybody do, and this is if you've been playing for a while, most people know this, but something that people that are new to D&D probably aren't aware of is instead of getting together and jumping right into the story, it helps to have what's known as a session zero. And a session zero is kind of like the game before the game, where you talk with the players about what they want to do, their expectations, and also what kind of game you would like to run, because as the DM, you have to have fun with it too. And then during that session, people come up with their characters, and sometimes as the DM, with the setting that you have, certain things you might not want to have, or you might have some sort of requirements. So you want to have a get together before you actually start the first session, or at least an hour or two to do your session zero, to go over all this stuff, to make sure everybody's on the same page and you have an idea of, for example, one of the things that you might have certain rules in terms of how you're going to handle death in the game. And you'd want to find out, okay, are you okay with this? Are you okay with that? Or do you prefer something different? If so, what? And some people would prefer to have a game that is a little more silly, kind of gonzo, over the top, just weird, crazy, where others might prefer something that's a little bit more serious in terms of the role play, sort of grim, maybe, or at least, they don't want somebody making everything into a joke. They want it to be a more serious thing. Although you'll find usually the jokes are almost unavoidable, but different people want more or less serious games too. So you want to sit down with everybody ahead of time and find out what everybody's looking for in the game and how you can best provide that, just so that you know everybody is interested. And sometimes you're going to have somebody who's just not a good fit. Usually if it's a bunch of friends getting together, it works out a lot more easily. But sometimes if you're looking for a group to play with and you get somebody who's completely random, you have to sometimes say, okay, well, your interests do not align with the kind of game that I would like to run. Or this is how we play the game, and it sounds like you're not a good fit for us. In fact, one of the things, and not practical now, but one of the things that we used to do is me and one of the other guys from our group, when somebody had to drop out, we had some work things come up, we had some school things come up with some people, we would meet with any new prospective players ahead of time at Starbucks usually, and sit down and talk with them about what was happening in the campaign, the kind of world that it was, the fact that there was dark, it was brutal, there was some very adult themes going on. We had a 16-year-old girl that had messaged me, and because I'd posted something on Facebook about the campaign, and no.
How about no? Okay.
But we had a bunch of people that came out and met us, and on a couple occasions we just had to say, we don't think this is going to be a good fit, because the person when they told us like what they had done before and the kind of character that they wanted to play, she's like, nope. And we had some people tell us that too. They say, oh, well, it sounds like it's a little bit dark for my taste. So you want to do that. You want to make sure that everybody's interested in what's being done. The setting, everybody's got to be interested in the setting, how serious it is, the challenge level. Some people like to run very dangerous games where there is a very real possibility that your character could die as early as like a few minutes into the first session. Whereas other people don't want to play on hard level. They just want more of the role play and exploration without like very hard combat. So
I kind of find that amazing that not that the content necessarily, obviously a 16-year-old girl isn't going to want to play the type of games that we've been playing. I think as a new person to this whole thing, I find it really sad that people can't just enjoy themselves. And there's stuff, or maybe the story's not what you want, but when you're not the dungeon master, it's not your story to tell. People confuse themselves. You're the actor in the movie and they're the director. Don't confuse the roles that you're in.
Now, the way I like to run my game, I like more of the role play aspect. I guess I'm one of those. So what I actually do to get the players more involved in the game is I'll kind of bait them. I'll say, okay, you're doing this, so what happens? And I've already kind of made expectations for them to say, okay, elaborate a little bit. I gave you some ideas. Go ahead and actually be the DM for like 5 seconds and tell me what's happening. Like, you go into a town, what's in the town? And give me like one or two things, and it gives them personal investment kind of in their story.
Yeah, I've heard of some people doing that, and that's more of a collaborative storytelling. And also, it does take a little bit, although if you're the DM, you got to make sure you're taking notes when they do that, so that if you come back, you remember.
Yeah, it gets wild.
Here. But what was I going to say? I forgot. Crap. Oh, about something about 16-year-old girls. Maybe I shouldn't.
It's gonna be that one of those episodes.
The reason that I shut that down wasn't because she was 16, but because it was mostly adults playing at one of our.
Yeah, it's just not appropriate.
I just didn't want any. You never know. In fact, real quick off topic. When I started doing personal training from my home instead of at a studio, I stopped taking all female clients. just because I did not want to be in a situation where somebody would pull some Me Too shit on me. And this was before the age of Me Too. But I would not have had an issue with a 16-year-old girl playing if we were still playing at Starbucks or if we were playing at we used to play at one of the local game stores, but every time we went there to run a game, they were also running Magic the Gathering tournaments.
It's distracting.
They were constantly making announcements.
No way. Yeah.
Starbucks was great. We would go to Starbucks and we would start a game, and we would usually play for about 4 or 5 hours. And the people at Starbucks were fine with it. They were, because we were buying coffee the whole time.
Oh,
but we would usually end up with a bunch of people just sitting around listening in on the games. And a couple times we'd had people ask about joining in and say, well, you can't just drop in right now. But it was, and honestly, I think a lot of the people that I was playing with got into it a little bit more because of the fact that
they have an audience. Yeah. And you're showcasing your work, and you're kind of representing the game.
I did tone the language and some of the violence down a little bit, though, if there were younger children about. We did have a homeless guy come in once and try to sell each of us a mug that he had found somewhere. It was interesting. I should have turned him into a character. It's getting off topic with the other stuff, but if you've got a bunch of people, in fact, and I'll make this offer right now, if anybody has questions or if people need help or you want ideas for putting together a campaign, let me know. And also, I mentioned earlier, I've run more family-friendly stuff. Ran something every year. My brother and his family come down and they visit for a while. We do all the theme parks and stuff. And whenever they're here or whenever we're visiting them, we usually do at least one D&D game with the adults and the kids. And the kids love it. Kid appropriate stuff. Unfortunately, we didn't get to last time, but so if you have kids, as long as they're, and my nephew is the youngest nephew, let's say Luke's 12, 10, 8. So the last time we had 13, 12, 10, and 8-year-old kids, and was fine for all of them. So if you got young kids and they're getting a little crazy, this is, and especially if they're real creative, this is a way that, and we kept them engaged for 2-3 hours. So this is something that you can do with your kids too. And it's great. Although one thing I would recommend, if you're playing with the kids, dice trays. You don't want them chucking dice on the table. And just get or if you don't have the dice trays or something, get just a little box or something for them to throw the dice in. Because if they're all just chucking it, you're going to spend more time chasing around their dice than you are playing. But something else I did for the kids is with their hit points, instead of having them keep track of hit points on paper, I've got this huge bowl with red and blue and green, those little glass beads. And so I would hand them a bunch of the red ones represent, every red bead represented 3 hit points. And instead of having them keep track of their spell slots, I gave them a bunch of blue beads. So every spell slot, if they were going to cast a spell, it would cost them a number of beads equal to the spell slots, so that it was easy for them to look and see, oh my gosh, this is my health, or this is my magic.
Hell, that's great for adults. Shit.
And the green one, it really is these things. The green ones we used for inspiration points. And the kids really had fun with this. Every game, everybody gets one of those green tokens. And what they can do is at any point in the game, they can spend the token to do something epic. Whatever it is that they want to do, they will accomplish it within reason. You're not going to take a boulder and throw it through the sky across the world, but they would be able to do something epic. And the spending of those tokens made for some of the most interesting parts of the entire game with the kids. So if you're going to play with your kids, that's a lot easier way. than doing the pen and paper. Something else I also did for the kids to make it a little bit easier is I typed out their spells. So I had a sheet. These are the spells that your character knows. These are the spells that your character knows, so that instead of looking everything up in the book, they had it right there. Although, if you want to, you can actually buy spell cards that are pre-made that have all the details for the spells.
Yeah, they're good.
Also, for magic items, I had a sheet printed out with all of the different magic items and things that they might find, and I cut those into strips. So if they found something, I'd hand it to them. That way, they weren't constantly having to write things down and remember on paper. So for kids, you're going to do some of this stuff to make it a little bit easier. But if you have kids that like, and if they don't like science fiction, or if they don't like fantasy, sword and sorcery stuff, do science fiction. Or if they like superhero stuff, you can do Transformers, you can do, superheroes. You can literally take any setting, whatever the hell you can.
Kelly's Heroes.
Teletubbies versus Nazis, whatever you want to do. We're
gonna get some booze.
That's right.
So you could have them role play as us fighting off an army of zombie SJWs in the streets of Berkeley.
There you go.
or have your kids play as Grat and Saro and the rest fighting off a bunch of halfling thieves.
That's right. And just remember, they're good, toasted, and well done.
So,
I'm gonna excuse myself. I'm gonna go have some coffee with my sister now.
All right.
We've been talking to you.
You as well, Atham. Catch you later.
I didn't hear it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, if anybody has questions, anybody needs help with campaigns for their kids, anybody wants me to look at some of their campaign ideas, all I'm doing is writing and reading books and doing videos for a couple of weeks. So
nice. Thank you, John.
Yeah, I love this stuff. I mean, I'm running my mouth here constantly.
It's good content.
I can't emphasize enough how perfect this is for the situation. I mean, the situation sucks, but this is
you could theoretically do a D&D game where it's people trying to get through the grocery store to get toilet paper. If you have kids, you could do that kind of game.
You could.
Yep.
There is a single roll left on the shelves, and you see this massive woman as she's reaching for the last roll of toilet paper, the arm flapping. What do you do? Yeah, well, I take a thing of bleach off the shelf. I mix it with some, I shouldn't even be saying this. Well, ammonia and chlorine bleach. I mix it in a Tupperware. I shake it, and I toss it at her feet.
There you go.
And as she inhales the what is it?
No, you just yell, "Oh my gosh, free cake!" And then she turns around and runs.
So yeah, you can take anything and turn it into that. You just have to have some dice and figure out the difficulty.
Yeah. Now,
Yep.
Red, what games are you playing lately?
So right now I'm running a 5th edition game for my group, and kind of the weird way I'm doing it, I'm kind of pulling in a lot of Numenera, if you know the Monte Cook game system at all. Drew?
Those are the guys
A little bit, yeah.
that had the consent sheet for the RPGs.
Yeah, I didn't know that was him, but
yeah, I honestly I don't know anything. Their stuff might be great for all I know, but I know that them and a couple others have kind of inserted or insinuated some SJW crap into a lot of their stuff. So,
well, I mean, it's like everything else. You just kind of ignore that area until they just, they go away.
They'll stop eventually when people stop buying all their crap because of it.
Well, that's it.
Exactly. But I've posted some of our adventures. I kind of wanted to do this thing where they kind of had the swords and sorcery, but also they have the weird space adventures at the same time. So I guess you could call it. You could call it like they have. What are you
running Spelljammer?
Yeah, it's essentially some kind of weird Spelljammer, because they've got their swords, but they're in a spaceship, like blasting, like I think I made them like space Mexicans for some reason. That they were. They had a giant gourd mothership, and it was strange.
Donkey aliens.
There you go.
Yeah, and that was all like improv. That was an improv day for me because I was just thinking of weird stuff.
I'm going to have to incorporate that somehow. Now, it's Mexican aliens with swords.
There you go.
Yes, and their ships were colored like serapes. Everything else, that's what somebody else threw in. Like, yes, they have multicolored ships.
Oh my God, Amos! Jesus Christ,
that's perfect.
Atham would have had some awesome, awful thing to say, and he left. So,
I know, right?
You got to build a wall around the planet.
There you go. That's it. Jesus, these huge pinata-like ships.
Right, but.
The space defense is a stick that swings around.
Comes around, yeah. Oh shit.
But no, I've played a bunch of things kind of on and off. I also have a group that I play in. We played 5th edition. We touched 4th edition, and that was a little too much for me because that's really the wargamey kind of side. There's
that's very crunchy, yeah.
Very crunchy, and I'm just kind of like, eh. I played a tiny bit of Shadowrun, and I kind of had the same vibe. I don't get the whole Pathfinder group. I don't know if anybody has any opinions on that.
I haven't delved into Pathfinder, yeah.
I like this better. It's more streamlined. I would rather focus more on the storytelling and the interaction than doing math.
Exactly.
For sure. So yeah, because I always thought the Pathfinder people were the super grindy kind of dudes because I always kind of avoided them at the conventions. It just seemed like, they wanted to spend all their time playing Pathfinder and not doing any of the convention stuff.
Yeah.
But hey,
if that's their thing, all more power to them. But that's why it's important to have session zeros. Find out if people are more into that or something else, and trying to find something that works for everybody playing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, something I've been really wanting to get into, I've been reading a lot of literature just physically, and then, reading the actual like role-playing books is the Call of Cthulhu stuff.
It's good.
It seems it's a lot of fun, and they have surprisingly a lot of solo adventures.
They do.
That you can just, it's kind of like a pick your own story, but rolling for skills.
Yeah. I love Lovecraft's fiction, but I have never done any of the role playing. We've got some board games. We've got Arkham Horror and some of that stuff, but we haven't done any role playing in H.P. Lovecraft's universe, which would be, I think that would be really challenging as a GM because it's more of the, existential dread than
you really have to be able to.
How do you describe that?
You really have to set. You have to be good at what you do, Drew, and you would totally be able to do a Call of Cthulhu game in setting the tone.
Oh, yeah.
The Eldritch horrors, you're good at the Eldritch horrors, yes.
So, that would take some practice. I think you'd have to be really good to run those kind of things. I would like to try someday. I would have to learn. I would have to read up on some of the material specifically for that. But yeah, that would be that would be tough, but it would be a lot of fun.
Yep.
Well, yeah, if you've got a lot of the knowledge from the actual stories, you can just kind of pull it from the back of your head and, improvise. Like, honestly, I like to do that. So
the toughest thing about that is when you're DMing, a lot of times, like I mentioned earlier, coming up with the plot, somebody wants something badly by some time, and they're having difficulty getting it for whatever these reasons are. This is easy if you have most conventional bad guys because they have relatable goals. But although, D&D has the Illithids, the Mind Flayers, and the Aboleths, and some of those other things that are they're ripped off.
The Nothics, and
Yeah.
So, but they're so alien that their motivations are unknowable or not understandable by humans. So that would be the tough part about doing a Cthulhu role play is that from the DM side, what are their motivations? Why do the people even matter? Because we're literally ants as far as the great old ones are concerned. Unless you'd be dealing with, well, like maybe the people from Innsmouth, or the deep ones and things like that. But it would
even then, yeah, they're pretty nutsy. I guess the easy way you can role play them is just inbred rednecks, but with a slightly different flavor, right?
The real tricky part, though, I think, well, maybe not. And I can't remember who I was discussing this with, but it was just a few weeks back. I was talking to somebody about the difference between action and horror. Is in action, the good guys have a weapon. Basically, the difference between action and horror, is being in the house with the killer and you are completely unarmed and helpless versus being in the house with the killer and you've got a shotgun and a pistol and everything else. One is horror, one's action. Or Alien was horror. Aliens, everybody had the guns, was action. With an H.P. Lovecraft thing, you have to make the players feel like it is somewhat of a helpless situation, and that otherwise there's not going to be the sense of dread. Because, well, let me ask, you guys that have been playing, have you ever once been terrified of the halflings or the cultists or even the big fat, war wench were-rat women? No, because you have weapons and you're relatively powerful characters. You can fight them. But imagine being in a similar situation without any weapons.
Well, conventional weapons don't work against anything in the
right. You have to use the elder sign.
That's the other thing.
Yeah, it's all even the magic that's going to drain you and
there
you're
was
going to lose sanity.
A collection of stories, though, and you know what? I don't know if I've got it here or if it's in one of the other bookcases. And it's called Shotguns and Cthulhu, which is none of it's H.P. Lovecraft, but it is all in that universe, but more action horror than horror. So, it's still
Evil Dead type stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So, it was really good. So you can throw some action in, but it would be a challenge, but it would be a hell of a lot of fun to do Cthulhu with the actual, that kind of dread and the madness and everything. Tough.
And see, the interesting thing about Call of Cthulhu is you can mix action and horror together, and you can give them that really powerful weapon that they think is a really powerful weapon, but then they realize that doesn't even work, even though they usually
bites him in the ass later.
Real quick, and I'm going to throw this out there for some of the people watching, and this is something important to consider when you're playing. You want to make sure that you balance the monsters, that you don't want to just grab random monsters and encounters to throw at the players. There are challenge ratings if you're doing D&D, and there's probably something similar in other systems. So you want to make sure that you learn about that first, because you don't want to go throw like an adult dragon at a group of like level 2 and 3 adventurers. There's a trick, though, and this is important.
Cheesing behind the screen.
You have to be fair when you're setting something up. You can have a group of novice adventurers encounter something that they have absolutely no chance of beating. But there's two ways you can go about this. One, there's player knowledge versus character knowledge. The players, if they're new, might not know their player characters have no way of defeating this thing. You would have to tell them your characters would know that this is something that they can't beat, but that's not fun. What I recommend is have your players encounter a relatively powerful creature or warrior, something that is clearly stronger than them, and then have the dragon or whatever the monster is absolutely kill it without any effort, so that your players don't tell them, show them, so that your players, this tough knight that they were talking to that was going to, help train them and lead them on this quest, they come to the dragon just slaughters it like that. It shows them that, holy crap, this thing is way too powerful for us, and then they can take appropriate actions, because sometimes the best thing for the players to do is to run. And this is an interesting way to build up a campaign where later on, when they become powerful enough, they are finally able to beat that dragon that they ran from in the beginning. So you got to be careful not to kill the players unfairly by throwing things at them that are way too powerful without showing them and giving them the opportunity to figure that out first. But if you do it is fun to have them encounter these super powerful monsters early on, or some dangerous situation, so that when they become more powerful, there's a greater sense of accomplishment in coming back and getting it, especially if it's been antagonizing them or hunting them maybe for a good part of their campaign or their adventure.
Absolutely. And gentlemen, we are on the 2-hour mark. So Red, make it quick. You were about to say something.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
If we're at the end, we're at the end.
We are indeed. It's
all right.
It's getting late on the East Coast here, and my ass is dragging. So, gentlemen, everyone in the chat, it was fantastic interacting with you all. Thank you for the super chats. Appreciate that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we will have everyone back on again to discuss tabletop games. We'll have some new people in as well. And we will reschedule the Dungeons and Dragons game soon. So I'm going to actually I'm going to actually get an email thread going right before I head to bed and get that rolling. So,
and I hope everybody that's here right now comes. First off, watch the other sessions that we've already done so that you're caught up on the story. If you haven't already, there's a bunch of things that are happening, and then make sure.
Oh, it's a riot! It's a riot, guys.
Yeah, I like playing Grat.
And I hope everybody's able to watch the next one too. You guys don't have anything else going on. You can put it in your calendars. But again, and you guys want to run your own stuff, for your kids, your friends, or whatever, feel free to email me. I'd be glad to help other people out with their campaigns. In fact, I've got another blog, and I haven't done crap with it because I've been lazy. I shouldn't say I've been lazy. I've been too busy with my regular work stuff. But I set up a blog to write about D&D stuff, and specifically the campaign world that we're in. And it's a Villtheim.com, VILLTHEIM.com. So I'll put up a bunch of stuff there. If people have questions, send me the questions. I'll answer on there. I know enough to be able to help guys who are just getting started out and doing this and want some stuff. There's a lot of other great resources, and I can point you to those too for D&D. Guy Scanlon, again, How to Be a Great GM. Venger Satanis. He's on Twitter and some of those. There's tons of great resources on how to do this stuff.
If you want just good stories, like I like watching this guy Seth Skorkowski or whatever. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him, but he's got some good, like, he tells the stories to the NPCs. It's a good little gag.
Drew, you want to post that link in the private chat, and I'll throw it up in the in the public chat.
Quick.
Yeah.
And
all right,
that should be it. I hope. Let me double check it. Make sure that's going to my blog, and it's set. Oh, I need to set it up. It works. It'll say it's unsafe because I haven't gotten the what is the HTTPS thing?
Yeah, hypertext browser. Yeah,
but it works. I need to actually do something with my theme though. I've got the focus theme on here, but I haven't prettied it up yet. Yeah, I'll do that.
You need your SSL.
That's the SSL. I got the SSL on bay.com, but I haven't gotten the SSL on this. I need to contact my host and tell him to put that in there. It's supposed to be free with the host I've got.
Cool. All right, gentlemen. Once again, a pleasure having you all on and talking geek shit once again. Mm-hmm. And until next time, enjoy your weeks. Stay safe.
Yep.
Get some projects done. Make use of this time.
And play D&D.
And play D&D, yes. And read books, write books, do it all. Until next time, we'll see you soon.